This is a primetime podcast coming at you with another video, and today we're going to talk about Brock Lesnar and his involvement in this lawsuit and why WWE may be cautious about his return. So there was a couple of Brock Lesnar mentions on October 14th, Monday Night Raw. He was mentioned by Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. This led to a lot of talk and discussion about Brock Lesnar's return. Of course, there's pros and cons to this. There are people who are excited. There are people who are not excited. There are wrestling journalists like Fightful who said this is not occurring anyway. There have been no talks about it. There have been other journalists that said there is talks. Look, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Me personally, I'm a big fan of Brock Lesnar. I think we're all fans of Brock Lesnar, and I would be glad to have Brock Lesnar back. This show, these properties need Brock Lesnar right now, but the company is making the right decision by not bringing Brock Lesnar back in yet. Yet. Let me say it again. Yet. Now, we're going to go through Brock's involvement in this lawsuit, which is minimal, to be honest. But there's enough there that you have to dig into that well. But first, let's start with what he was accused of. Okay, so going into the Janelle Grant lawsuit, this is page 38, which is the section about Brock Lesnar. Now, up to this point, the only thing that's been mentioned is that Vince McMahon is in negotiations with a former UFC champion and WWE superstar who could only be Brock Lesnar about renewing his contract, and he's using Janelle Grant as a bargaining tool. So on page 38, we get into the part where Janelle Grant is a sexual pawn of Vince McMahon. And it says McMahon begins to recruit the WWE superstar, which we now know to be Brock Lesnar, for a sexual encounter with Miss Grant while she was still a coordinator in the legal department. By July 2021, McMahon informed Miss Grant that WWE superstar will be their next playmate. So Vince is recruiting Brock into a threesome or some sort of situation, which is actually more of a cuck situation because here it is, as explains. Vince explained his fantasy to Miss Grant of her engaging in unmerciful sex acts with the WWE superstar, doing what she would rip her open. This, of course, is colorful language taken out of context. But the idea is that Vince, who was an 80-year-old man, wants to watch Brock Lesnar smash his girlfriend. Look, I don't understand cuck fantasies personally, but there's a lot of stuff I don't understand about Vince McMahon, as you probably know from that breakdown I did of him. But here's the thing. Despite this is Vince McMahon's fantasy, there is no evidence that Brock Lesnar and Janelle Grant ever actually met, let alone had sex. I'm going to leave a dramatic pause right there because there is no evidence that they actually met, let alone that they had sex. Continuing. July 12, 2021, McMahon directed Grant to create personalized sexual content for the WWE superstar. McMahon shared the photos with WWE superstar and informed Miss Grant that, quote, he likes what he sees. So Vince is showing Brock videos and pictures of Janelle Grant. I'm going to assume that they're sexual pictures. I mean, shame on Brock Lesnar for liking pictures that was sent to him, right? Again, don't see anything illegal about what Brock's doing. And apparently, Janelle Grant knew that these pictures were being sent out to Brock. Because it says that Miss Grant, he told Miss Grant to create personal sexualized content for Brock Lesnar, the superstar. So that means it wasn't like Vince broke her confidence and these were private videos that Vince shared, which sometimes happens in the street. You know, these girls do private videos whatsoever, and then they'll show their friends, but their football team or the boys in the locker room. So this is literally, she created the content knowing it was being shared to Brock, right? Keep that in mind. It says on July 20th, 2021, McMahon flew or caused WWE Superstar to fly on a jet into a local airport and travel into Connecticut. For McMahon described to make described will be a business dinner and maybe a potential sexual encounter with Miss Grant in McMahon's condo. Upon information and belief, the dinner was to discuss the WWE superstars' continued involvement with WWE. Prior to the business with McMahon, WWE Superstar had a brief visit to Miss Grant's building. However, WWE Superstar did not return to the building for a sexual encounter because he was too intoxicated and taken back to the plane. So, this was one of those times where they almost met. So, to break this down, Vince is inviting Brock to his condo for business dinner, in quotation marks, but they're still in negotiations about Brock's new contract. Now, I want people to recognize this. Vince and Janelle Grant live in the same building. So when they say that the WWE superstar made a brief visit to Miss Grant's building, well, that's where Vince's condo is. They live in the same building. So it's not like he went out of his way to go to Janelle Grant's building. He was going to Vince's condo. So he was already there. That's the little things you kind of have to pay attention to. Unless, of course, she has some sort of second residence that we don't know about. But as far as we know, she lived in the exact same building as Vince McMahon. So the framing and the phrasing are very important here. And then it says later that evening, McMahon recounted the story by his dinner by WWE superstar Brock Lesnar and ended the night and requested would role play with Miss Grant. So Brock is gone. Vince and Janelle Grant have role play. They do their thing that night. So then it goes into more about Vince. So apparently August 26th, this is months later, from July to August, right? So WWE was engaged in SummerSlam, and around this time, McMahon and the superstar privately reached an informal agreement about his return. That night, McMahon texts Miss Grant and remind her that she was an enslaved object to him, and quote, I want to drive you lower and lower, so low that you may beg me to sell you. McMahon continued to advertise a sexual encounter with Miss Grant's WWE superstar during their formal negotiation of a new booking contract with WWE. In December 2021, let's back up for 1 second. Okay, so there is no conversations between Janelle and Brock at this point in time. Again, they still haven't even met. So they did not meet in July when Brock was supposed to meet her. So apparently during the dinner that Brock was supposed to meet at the condo and hook up with Janelle while Vince watched, but Brock was too intoxicated, he was too drunk. That was Vince's idea. That was his fantasy, but it didn't happen. Now in August, they're still negotiating with Brock's contract. Brock and Janelle still have not met. They're not even had any conversations. So she's assuming essentially that Vince is still using her as a sexual pawn. So here's December. So I'm going to go on from July to August, from August to December. All of 2021. It says McMahon gave Miss Grant's personal cell phone number to WWE Superstar and promised that she'll do anything requested of her. In the days that followed, the superstar revealed a fetish to Miss Grant and attested to Miss McMahon's promise that she will do anything that's promised of her. As what we saw, as we heard, Miss Grant urinated, and she urinated, I think it was like in a glass or a bottle whatsoever, and she sent it to Brock. Miss Grant went numb and obeyed, and the superstar informed Miss Grant that she had not complied with the request. The superstar would have lost any interest in her, and thus would have called her a bitch. The superstar expressed to Miss Grant his desires to set up a play date and have a sexual encounter. However, a snowstorm changed WWE Superstar's travel plans, and Miss Grant ultimately used the weather and COVID-19 as an excuse to back out. So once again, in December, now they're actually talking one-on-one. Brock had requested videos. She's sending videos. I understand that she went numb and obeyed because she pretty much, because she went numb and obeyed because that's what she does. She does what's asked of her, and that's whatever. But in any event, she sent Brock this piss video because Brock has a piss fetish. Like, I don't get it. Brock is a weirdo. He's a weirdo. I imagine everybody has fetishes that are not meant to be public. That's just kind of what I get from a lot of these sex lawsuits, that people engage in a lot of degenerate behavior. Sexual perversions that's not willing to be made public. They're meant to be shared with people that they do this stuff with. And then these people turn around and decide to sue them and embarrass them in front of the media, in front of the whole world. But that's unfortunate. But that's where we're at in this situation. So now Brock has requested this piss video and she's giving it. So they still have not met. They're supposed to meet again to set up a play date, quote unquote. And now that's it. Now in January 2022, Vince McMahon breaks up with Janelle Grant, the NDA and all that stuff, and Brock is no longer involved. So where is Brock involved with sex trafficking? At the most, he had also the object of sexual desire for Vince because he wants to watch Brock have sex with this girl, and Brock wants to have sex with the girl. He's just not super motivated to do it. Otherwise, he would have done it by now. The conversations began in July, and by December, it had not happened yet. At most, he saw some pictures and some videos, and that was it. And some of that stuff was directed towards him, which means she knew he was going to get it. There are some things I'm sure that she did not know he was going to see. But then there are things that she may have specifically made for him, even on a one-to-one, because it doesn't say in December that the stuff went through Vince. Now, early in July, she was sending content to Vince that Vince was sending to Brock. So that means that in the lawsuit, as we further go and discover, we're going to have to go through Brock's phone. We're going to have to go through Brock's phone. And that's why you don't send Brock back. Because you don't know what's in Brock's phone. You don't know what's in Vince's phone. We don't know what's in Janelle Grant's phone. So we don't know how deep this rabbit hole goes. There may have been more contact between these two people, these three people that we know, that we don't know. That's why we don't bring Brock back. But Brock, from a legal standpoint, didn't do anything wrong that you don't do in a fraternity or on a team of some sort. These kind of things happen, especially in Hollywood. Now, I know we're all sensitive to the treatment of women and sex trafficking and all that sort of stuff. But ultimately, this guilt by association makes no sense. Of course, Brock and Vince are close. Hell, they're closer than I thought. Hell, they're too damn close. I mean, Vince wants to watch Brock have sex with his girlfriend, and Brock even entertains it. And the entertainment of it, and Brock does entertain it because we see the evidence of that in the text that Janelle Grant provided, where Vince supposedly texts her, "Here's what blank said after I told him that part of the deal was fucking you. LOL, that's your turf. She would be ruined after me and leave your ass. Plus, your tool won't fit anymore." So that's as far as it goes with Brock. Brock ribbing Vince about having a small dick and that he's going to rip the girl open and all that kind of stuff. Just chatter. Brock never laid a hand on her. There's no evidence that he actually touched this girl. There's no evidence that he paid her for these videos. There's no evidence that he was engaged in at all in anything that could be called sex trafficking. If Brock Lesnar is guilty of anything, it's guilty of the same stuff that a regular teenage boy would be guilty of, which is seeing videos that seen videos of his friend's girlfriend that he should not have seen. or whatever the case may be, right? And then, of course, the extent of that she was creating content for him, which is whatever. But because we don't know the full extent, this is just what was released to the public. We don't know the full extent of Brock Lesnar's involvement. You can't bring Brock back. You're just not right now. So all these people who are mad at Brock, they're all simps. They're all weirdos. But then again, Brock's a weirdo. Vince is a weirdo. Janelle Grant's a weirdo. They're all degenerates. And there are people that you don't want involved in this on television. You do not want people that are involved in this on television. But you have to understand that this is minimal. This means nothing. The same situation with look, I don't understand. Like, I don't understand the whole threesome anyway, because I'm just not a threesome kind of guy. So when I saw the Xavier Woods, Paige, and threesome situation, I didn't understand. I think it's weird. I just don't understand the mentality of two guys and one woman. I just don't understand why guys like to do that. But sometimes it happens. And nobody gets arrested for it. So if this thing would have went on without a hitch, we wouldn't known anything about it. So it's clear that, at least to some degree, the people involved who are either into it or willing to do it, whether it was under duress or not, but it didn't happen. So all the talk we're discussing here are about things that did not happen. Brock did not touch this girl. We have no evidence that Brock even met this girl. At most, he saw some videos. But at the same time, we still need to do some more investigation. We need to do some more digging, you know? So I would not bring Brock back. Even if we have an investigation, quote unquote, and people are talking about, well, Brock's going to be investigated and he's going to come up clean. Maybe. But also remember this, Vince is under a federal investigation as well. So if Brock's is brought into this, even the federal investigation may involve Brock. So you can't bring Brock back. You just can't. From a fan's perspective, I would love for Brock to come back. I'm pretty sure you all would love to have Brock back. The show would greatly benefit from having Brock Lesnar come back. Brock is fun. He has great matches. The show is just different when Brock is there. But on a company level, you have to be careful because you don't know how close these people are. We don't know how much contact that they've had with this defendant or this plaintiff. And we don't know how deep the rabbit hole is. And we also don't know what the federal government's going to find. So you can't bring them back. It just doesn't make sense right now. So the Brock Lesnar fans are just going to have to accept that Brock ain't coming back anytime soon. So it doesn't matter what Fightful thinks. Fightful doesn't know shit. Common sense would common sense would tell you not to bring Brock back until this whole situation blows over and it's forgotten about. And it's not going to blow over anytime soon because it looks like Vince is going to fight this whole thing in court. So it's going to drag out even more. So if you guys want Brock back, it's just not going to happen. I just don't realistically seeing it happen, at least right now, when there's still a ton of heat on him. So unfortunately, we're going to have to go. The WWE is going to have to go without Brock Lesnar for the foreseeable future. But let me know your guys' thoughts. Hit that like and subscribe button. And how y'all feel? Do you guys think they should bring Brock back? Or do you think WWE doesn't need Brock at the moment? Let me know your thoughts. Hit that like and subscribe button. And I am out. Peace.